should go to Zeiss.
Zeiss Digital Partners.
Be amazed of knowledge, industries, manufacturing, optics, hardware, software,
AR, VR,
Machine Learning,
infrastructure.
Ich will nicht aufstehen und irgendwie mir denken, scheiße, ich muss meinen Job machen, sondern was kann ich heute machen?
You will make it happen. Do it.
Have you found your dream job as a developer? Or are you stuck in an unfulfilling job? On WeAreDevelopers.com, you find over 1,000 jobs in Europe that fit the tech stack that you want to work with, and salaries go up to $130K. All you have to do is create a free profile, and you automatically get matched with jobs that fit your requirements. So what are you waiting for? Create your free profile and let companies apply to you now.
Zeiss.
Zeiss?
Zeiss.
I think you should go to Zeiss.
Zeiss Digital Partners.
Be amazed of knowledge, industries, manufacturing, optics, hardware, software,
AR, VR,
Machine Learning,
infrastructure.
Ich will nicht aufstehen und irgendwie mir denken, scheiße, ich muss meinen Job machen, sondern was kann ich heute machen?
You will make it happen. Do it.
Have you found your dream job as a developer? Or are you stuck in an unfulfilling job? On WeAreDevelopers.com, you find over 1,000 jobs in Europe that fit the tech stack that you want to work with, and salaries go up to $130K. All you have to do is create a free profile, and you automatically get matched with jobs that fit your requirements. So what are you waiting for? Create your free profile and let companies apply to you now.
Zeiss?
Size.
I think you should go to Zeiss.
Zeiss Digital Partners.
Be a maze of knowledge, industries, manufacturing, optics, hardware, software,
AR, VR.
Machine Learning.
infrastructure.
Ich will nicht aufstehen und irgendwie mir denken, scheiße, ich muss meinen Job machen, sondern was kann ich heute machen?
You will make it happen. Do it.
Have you found your dream job as a developer? Or are you stuck in an unfulfilling job? On WeAreDevelopers.com, you find over 1,000 jobs in Europe that fit the tech stack that you want to work with, and salaries go up to $130K. All you have to do is create a free profile, and you automatically get matched with jobs that fit your requirements. So what are you waiting for? Create your free profile and let companies apply to you now.
Zeiss.
Zeiss?
Zeiss.
I think you should go to Zeiss.
Zeiss Digital Partners.
Be amazed of knowledge, industries, manufacturing, optics, hardware, software,
AR, VR.
Machine Learning.
infrastructure.
Ich will nicht aufstehen und irgendwie mir denken, scheiße, ich muss meinen Job machen, sondern was könnte ich heute machen?
You will make it happen. Do it.
Have you found your dream job as a developer? Or are you
Testing. Oh, now it works. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another session. We have a really amazing speaker for you. We have Joanna Pirker, whose job is so amazing. She is a game researcher, a VI researcher, and she has a really interesting talk for us. So please join me in welcoming her to the stage. And don't forget, if you have any question to her, write them down in the Q&A using the app. Enjoy the session.
Okay, hello, hello, hello. I am beyond excited to see all of you here. I've been told that I should speak up a little, so just a quick question. Can you hear me in the back? I cannot hear you. Can you hear me in the back? Okay, that's good. So thanks so much for joining today. So my name is Joanna Pirker. I might have this really strong accent. You might know, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, this Californian accent. So hello from Austria. Thanks so much for the invitation. And for me, it's one of the first events here in real life again. So for whom is this the first event where you actually see the other people again? Yes, that's a lot of you. So I constantly hear, I'm so glad everything is back to normal. But I would ask you a few questions around that. Because I think we're all beyond excited that things are becoming more normal again. But what is normal? And what has actually changed through the pandemic for us, also in the development perspective? So I would be interested in who actually spent more time outdoors? Oh, wow, that's a lot of you. I think that's like half of you. Who started to cook more? That's a few of you. Who started using fitness apps? That's a little less, but still nice. I see the effort, I see the thoughts. Who spent more time gaming? Oh yes, that's a lot of you, that's a lot of you. So welcome to my world, and thanks for bringing me the revenue with that. So if we look at the statistics, actually, I mean, we are all in the tech industry, so we all know that for us, the pandemic revenue-wise was not as bad as for many other industries. And one of the most beneficial industries in this case was the gaming industry. So starting with the first lockdowns, there was a really strong increase in different aspects in different games. And I think there's especially in this talk, I want to offer you a little bit an overview on thoughts. It's not like a technical talk like I gave you last year about AI in games. This year I want to talk a little bit, how do I think are games potentially changing all of our future? And I am always really excited when I see this picture, because nowadays there are more people watching esports matches compared to going to the Super Bowl and watching the Super Bowl. And this is something which I find personally really exciting, because I, as a gamer, was never taken seriously. People were always a little bit, yeah, it's just a game. But the games industry is bigger than the music, film industry, and book industry combined. And I think those are numbers we should consider. Those are innovations and technologies we should look at to actually find a little bit also how those technologies are going to shape our future, and why this stadium is full of gamers and game lovers who are just watching other play, I think in this case, League of Legends. So for me, as a game developer, also the first lockdowns was a little bit of an upside, because the games industry was taking also very serious by all other industries. For instance, sports. The sports industry, I was actually asked from Austrian sports news agency to give interviews about esports, because they wanted to report about esports, why there was no real sports possible. All of a sudden it was possible that Formula 1 drivers are competing against esports drivers in the esports racing matches. Or what we see at the bottom right, that they are actually real bikers competing with bikers on their virtual bikes online. And those are exciting times. And what I find most exciting is especially the way how we started to interacting. I think by now we all are really excited about Zoom and all the virtual video conference tools, right? Yes, I hear the excitement, because I think it worked for us medium well, let's put it that way. Why is that? I think we're all still starting every conversation with, hello, can you hear me? And hey, is the connection good or bad? And this is not a very natural way of interacting. The thing is, if I have a video call with you, for instance, right? So you can see me in my office. You can see, obviously, that I am in my home office. I can see you and you in your home office. And this does something with our brains. We are seeing each other, and it's nice to see you, but we are still apart. However, in social environments like video games, we are spending time virtually with each other. So for instance, in Animal Crossing, who happens to know Animal Crossing? But that's more than people starting fitness apps. Interesting. So basically, in a game like Animal Crossing, that's what you see at the top right. This is a game where you play this cutesy little avatar, and you can create your lovely little island, where you can create an own museum, an own virtual aquarium, and you can invite friends over, and you can walk with them in the environment. You cannot see each other, but you're spending time together online. You have a physical presence, even if it's digitally, which is a very different quality of spending time together online than through a video call. So it was no surprise for some people that all of a sudden this game environment, Animal Crossing, was misused by the general society for having weddings, birthday parties, even academic conferences were held online in Animal Crossing instead of Zoom and co. So this is something we should think about. What we see here at the bottom right, who happens to know that game? World of Warcraft. Still more people knowing this screenshot probably than starting fitness apps. Interesting. So this is what we see here is a very sad screenshot actually. Shortly after one of the first lockdowns, a very famous World of Warcraft player died. And they made a funeral, a memorial service for him online in World of Warcraft. And thousands of players would meet and be together to say goodbye to their friend. And again, it's a different way of spending time together online. And this is something we should think of. The video games industry has pushed innovation for all of us in many fields in the past. Whether it's you're using your smartphones, because us gamers always wanted to have better GPUs, or optimized algorithms. There's also the saying that also in SpaceX, they sometimes would rather hire game developers, because this is not rocket science, but game development is. Because game development actually requires you to always optimize. You want to have the best frames per second performance. It's quite competitive to be in this field. So actually, the technologies behind game development are really, really exciting because the requirements are so strong. And what we need to know about also us gamers, we love to play social games. I'm just interested, very quickly, raise your hands if you do like to play video games sometimes. And now, keep your hand raised if you like to play with or against other players. See, most of us love to play with others or against others. It's a very social activity. That's what general society really often does not know. And if we look at those statistics by the Entertainment Software Association, you can actually see that most of the people like to play with others. They actually found new friendships through the games. Sometimes even a significant other. I cannot give a talk without adding data science stuff from our lab. So I'm leading a research lab where we also do a lot of big data analysis of video games. And we also did an analysis actually on League of Legends players. Very quickly, who plays League of Legends? Thank you for your data. And basically, we looked at people starting to play League of Legends during the first lockdowns, and we were able to show that friendships, so basically we defined friendships in a way when they started to play with other players, but constantly played with the same players, we defined these as friendships. And we were able to show that those friendships even retained after the lockdowns. So through League of Legends, they found eventually new friends, or at least found social connections to their friends online. This is what we were able to show through data analysis, which is published in a paper if someone is interested in that. So it's, to be honest, not really a big of a surprise that this is also the time where things like metaverse are being discussed again. The metaverse is, I think, quite a hot topic these days. The idea of virtual worlds, however, is not something new. Virtual worlds like World of Warcraft, Second Life, Open Wonderland, Open Sim, this was something which already existed 10 or 20 years ago and was back then medium successful. I remember I was working on my thesis in 2011, 2012 in the field of Second Life, and it took me half an hour to find a screenshot without naked avatars on it. It escalated a little bit, this sort of technology, but I still believe that the technology itself is a very interesting one and a very powerful one. I was myself working on a Java-based, don't judge me, open source framework to actually develop further one of those virtual environments, namely Open Wonderland. And we met online within this virtual world to develop further this virtual world. It worked well for us because back then we already had a good internet technology, we had good PCs, but it was just us few because we were in this field, we were gamers and game developers. But now I think it's time to rethink the use of virtual environments and virtual worlds again. Because back then we had the issues that most of the people did not have the internet connections. Most of the people did not have the powerful GPUs which are necessary to run those systems. These days, almost every laptop would run those technologies. So it's time to rethink again, because we know from studies that those virtual environments are powerful tools for learning, for collaborating, for playing. And I do believe it's an interesting starting point. I would not go so far to call it metaverse. Metaverse would be the step beyond. So basically connecting all those virtual worlds through the idea of interoperability, that all of them are connected, which is a quite interesting idea, but a little bit different. But I think in general, also the idea with combining it with virtual reality is something exciting. And if we look at the trends, I mean, Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard, just as a little bit of a side note. Activision Blizzard is a company which is known to build a World of Warcraft system for decades. So this is an environment which brings together people fighting dragons and so on and so forth, thousands of people. And it worked already 10 years ago. And Zoom calls do sometimes not work with 5 people. So just saying, so it's an interesting train of thought that Microsoft is buying Activision Blizzard, who has so much knowledge in building multi-use environments, and also Microsoft also announced they want to go further, I call it virtual worlds in this case, to collaborate. So a little bit this metaverse idea. So this is certainly something to look further into, and what I just want to point out, that there's so much potential in different technologies coming from the games industry in all different parts of our development world. So to summarize here, I think we should really think of what we've gone through all the lockdowns. And I do apologize. Hello? Okay. So I think it's a little bit of a time to recap and rethink what we've gone through for the pandemic, and really not just go back to normal, but rethink what were the good parts, what did change, what technologies and environments were useful, why were they useful. Again, a game can be also a game changer if you can all of a sudden not only use it for playing together, but also for meeting friends. And we've seen in the past, no matter what, there have been a lot of pandemics. Sorry, I'm not sure what's happening right now. So there have been a lot of pandemics in the past, and we've always seen that there has been quite a boost and push in how this changed the way how innovation and technologies and the industry was pushed. And I think we should definitely think around also what we can use here. So just a few thoughts. What could we work on? Speaking of, especially of the pandemic. So I think every one of us has seen the potential rise of healthcare technology. I don't know how it was in Austria or the country where you're coming from, because I'm super excited. It's quite an international audience here. This is something which is grand. But of course, every country had their own challenges. And what we've seen in Austria, for instance, all of a sudden it was possible to just call a doctor, write an email to get a new recipe for the pharmacy, for your medicine. So all of a sudden, remote diagnostic worked, telehealth systems worked, and it was really quite a boost. The same in finance. It's a small thing. It's a really small thing in theory, but contactless payment was not the standard everywhere. And all of a sudden, it was introduced so fast. The same with remote work infrastructure. Again, this is the field where I'm really excited to work on through game development technologies, things like telecommunication, collaboration tools, but also VR for digital twins, industry applications, and so on and so forth. E-learning, virtual labs, tutoring, just a little bit of a food for thought, what could be exciting technologies also to look deeper, what has changed, but also what could you work on in the future, which has changed through the first boost through the lockdowns. No questions, retail, e-commerce, customer service, and food services. And of course, the event management. I am really excited that all of us are coming here together. I'm more than excited to see actually real faces and have a little bit of a feedback and sometimes a weird laugh. But it's not over yet. So there will be still the need for virtual events and conferences. And also looking at the climate crisis, we can actually see the potential through the use of technologies like, again, meeting online, something better than Zoom maybe, which can actually bring people together without the need of just flying in for one day, which was normal for many of us, I think, before the first lockdowns. And I want to also tell you in my last part a little bit from my personal perspective. So I'm a teacher in the first place. So I'm a professor at the university, and most of the time I'm supposed to teach hundreds of students in the field of game development. And what I like most about the university, that people can just come in even though they're not part of my course and can just listen in. And I really love interactive lectures. Also, if it's hundreds of people, I still want to interact, like having people raise their hands or starting discussions. And for me, when the first lockdown was announced, this was really miserable, and I really panicked a little bit because I thought, when I'm going to use WebEx and Zoom and all of those closed systems, I'm going to lose the open character, and I will never have the interactivities with 100 students or more again. So I did something which was quite interesting. Namely, I moved my lectures to Twitch. Who happens to know Twitch? So what can go wrong, right? Having serious university lectures on a platform designed for gamers and pool streamers. What can go wrong, right? So just for those who do not know Twitch, Twitch is a live streaming platform, so where one person is playing most of the time a video game. Is actually for playing games and sharing the ideas of what you experience through a game. And on the right side, there's always this chat. People are chatting with each other, but also with the streamer. And they can ask questions, they can give hints about the game, for instance, which is also called backseat gaming. And it's a little bit of an interactive nature. So I started streaming my lectures on Twitch. So what happened? During the lockdown, we actually saw that I was not the only one of misusing this platform. All of a sudden, Twitch was used for so many different fields. Live concerts, live cooking shows, talk shows. So Twitch had quite a boom. It was already growing really fast, but it had really a boost through the lockdowns. And let me tell you my anecdote about how to use Twitch for lecturing. It's a nice field where I lecture. I did talk about game development, so this was a little bit of a nicer lecture than my math courses. And it was quite nice, because all of a sudden I had so many interactions. A lecture where I would have 30 minutes of content would take 1.5 hours. So why is that? Because the nature of Twitch is extremely interactive. People are constantly asking questions, talking to each other, even extending the content of my course, adding additional feedback. I did not have 140 students watching my lecture. Sometimes it was 400 or 600 people coming to my online lecture and giving ideas. It was even professional game developers sometimes joining the lectures. So this was the best thing which could happen to a lecturer at a university, that you have more students than you usually have. And this is another train of thought where many people did have issues finding a good place where they can play their concerts, especially culture, music, events, and so forth. But many, on the other hand, misused, again, a platform coming from originally from the games industry, and had the best time. I just need to be careful. Other colleagues also tried to use Twitch, but they were not really prepared for the content of Twitch, and there was a lot of misuse also in the chat, and a lot of interesting symbols all of a sudden in the chat. I'm not going into details here. You can watch the screenshots online. So I think it's always a very, very good idea to rethink technologies we might use, maybe in our spare time, and rethink how we can actually use them also for other purposes. We did a little bit of a study. This is not the most interesting results of the study, why people started to use more and more Twitch and what they mainly used it for. What we can see, additional non-gaming categories included music, food, drinks, science, technologies, or just chatting, because people were also really looking for those communities. And many people are actually always interested in, why are people watching others play video games? I mean, why are you going to a soccer stadium, football stadium, to watch others play, someone play soccer? Some of us are really interested in the sports. Some of us are really interested in the sports team or in a specific player. Some of them want to learn themselves. Some just want to meet their friends in the stadium. So every one of us has different motives to go there. And I think this is something we should also look deeper into. So to also rethink a little bit. My last question for today: who was working remotely during the pandemic? Who wants to keep working remotely and just maybe turn around quickly, keep your hands raised. So who wants to keep working remotely? And now release your hand if it was not possible to work remotely earlier. So it's changed so much for so many of us, and we should really rethink how we can get the best out of those changes. So for me, it changed for the good, and I'll definitely keep some of those strategies also for the future of my teaching. I found tools such as GatherTown to meet online, to also have the celebrations, which are game-like, or online games like Among Us. And I think it's just a little bit about the creativity, how we think of our tools online. And yeah, I'm going to end with this random picture of one of our works, how we actually misuse also game technologies to build future virtual reality learning laboratories. And I'll give it up and am open for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joanna, for an interesting talk. We have a few questions for you. We want to have time for all, but the most important one is people were asking how they can join your classes.
Oh. Yes, so I have a private Twitch account where you can watch me play the really famous Diablo Immortal. No, just kidding. But my private Twitch account is Joy Brink, and the class game account is GameLab Graz. So this is where you can actually join the classes. And on my private one, I have sometimes developer talks.
Great. So you heard her. If you want to join, please do so. And how do you get the older society to get into gaming? Because it's a bit difficult.
So we actually did a quite big research project on how we can also introduce gaming worlds for elderly, because especially in these times, it's very important that we can also connect, for instance, with the grandparents online. And we did some analysis, what techniques can be used to make the user interface easier for people who are a little bit older, and also the camera settings and so on and so forth. And we were actually designing an interactive, flexible systems which automatically adapt the vision. But here it's very important that you have a little bit of a hybrid system, so that you can go, for instance, with your grandparents through a virtual museum, but that they still see your face, because this is something, the more similar it is to what they already know, we already know, the easier sometimes it gets, so as intuitive as possible. And here virtual reality technologies become very handy for the future.
Thank you. And one more question. Do you think that meeting virtually will become the main thing, even though it's not including the right mimics and the right gestures?
Again, what?
The virtual meetings will become a thing, even if they lack the mimics of the persons and the gestures and stuff like that.
So I think we know it from games. It doesn't need to be the most sophisticated mimics. It doesn't need to be the most sophisticated, realistic graphics. Often it's really about how it's designed, how usable is it, how engaging, and maybe how immersive. So also when we design virtual reality, we always go for comic graphics, because most of us are coming from a computer science perspective, so we don't have those fancy artistic skills when we build prototypes. And what we've learned, even if it's comic graphics, there was one gamer testing our system entirely building comic graphics, and we had this comic table. And this person got really upset in their VR experience with the controllers, the real controllers in the hand, and said, no, I hate the system because it doesn't look realistic. And then he tried to put the real controllers onto our virtual comic table. And this was a little bit my story for, it needs to be immersive, it doesn't need to be super realistic.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will be improved in the future and get more realistic,
Absolutely.
more like this. So thank you very much,
Thanks
Joanna.
so much.
Thank you for attending, and enjoy the break.